A firefighter was bitten by a rattlesnake on his way home. When the doctor tried to inject morphine to ease the pain, he firmly refused. It'll hurt a lot without it. Are you sure? I'm sure. Eric from the fire crew supported his decision, not because he was brave, but because he had been an addict not long ago. He had overdosed before, so much so that he couldn't even read his girlfriend's messages clearly, and had to hear she was pregnant from a friend. That night, he went to the bar where she worked, and found out the baby was his. He said he would take responsibility, but the girl asked him to stay away from them. She'd rather handle everything herself than let an addict ruin her life. Rejected, Brendan went back to the bar to use again, but this time he was thrown out roughly by security. On his way home, Brendan saw a car with its doors unlocked. He looked around and saw no one, so he quickly got inside, but the police had already been waiting behind the car. Brendan was arrested again, just like the last time. He begged his mom to bail him out. Out of jail, Brendan lay sprawled on the couch, but his mother had lost all hope. She handed him an envelope and kicked him out. A few months later, Brendan's child was born. He looked at his daughter through the glass. A powerful sense of responsibility made him want to change. For his daughter, and for his own future, Brendan sought out the wildfire crew, but as soon as he entered, a member recognized him as an addict. Learning Brendan came to apply as a firefighter, one of the staff immediately said the team was full. As Brendan turned to leave, fire crew leader Eric called out to him. Seeing his evasive eyes, Eric asked him directly, "When was the last time you used drugs? Don't even think about lying." 3 months ago. Then Eric reviewed Brendan's file. He found out Brendan wasn't just a former addict. He was still out on bail. This made Eric quite troubled, but he still asked why Brendan came, and what Brendan said next made Eric see him in a different light. "I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, done many shameful things I can't forgive myself for, but I have a daughter now. Her name is Michaela. I want to give her what I never had. Please give me a chance. I won't let you down." So Eric decided to give him a chance, but whether he could stay or not would depend on his own effort. But years of drug use had left Brendan physically drained. He couldn't run far before he was exhausted. Deputy Leader Chris couldn't understand why an addict was accepted, especially during such a crucial time when they were aiming to join the elite team. Brendan would surely become a burden, but Eric didn't say a word. He just silently ran up the mountain. At the top, he told the crew to admire the breathtaking view before them, because once it's consumed by wildfire, there'll be nothing left to see. So think carefully, consider it seriously, then decide whether this job is right for you. As they ran back down the mountain, they found Brendan had only made it halfway up. No one knew how long had passed, and Brendan was still nowhere in sight. The others joked that he must have collapsed along the way. Eric didn't wait any longer. A figure appeared in the distance. Brendan had finally pushed through. He stumbled toward Eric and pulled out his phone. It was a photo he took at the peak. His determination was acknowledged by Eric. "See you Monday, 6 a.m. Chris also let go of his prejudice and handed him a bottle of water. No one looks down on someone who gives their all. On the contrary, they'll lend a hand when you struggle." After that, Brendan went to the supermarket, bought a few daily necessities, then left them in front of his ex's house, and quietly walked away, with an exhausted, aching body, without saying a word. Sometimes, just as he set the stuff down, he would hear the baby crying inside. Hearing his daughter's voice was enough to make Brendan feel fulfilled. His changes gradually caught his ex's attention, but during a training session, Brendan answered a question from Eric incorrectly. His team, Group A, was punished with group push-up. Just as they were about to start the next drill, a friend called Eric to inform him of a new wildfire. This was also going to be their evaluation mission. On the way to the site, everyone called their family. Only Brendan silently stared out the window. When they arrived, they boarded a plane to the assigned area, but during the fire containment planning, Eric and James had a disagreement. Eric wanted to pre-burn a patch of forest to stop the spread, so that by the time the fire arrived, there would be nothing left to burn. But James didn't agree with the plan. He believed it would only make the fire spread faster, and started lecturing Eric, citing his 40 years of experience. This made it hard for Eric to hold back. "Sorry to be blunt, but you're just an evaluator. Let us do our job. No, you don't get to interfere." But after speaking out, Eric regretted losing his temper. He knew he had offended James. That evening, the fire was mostly under control, but looking at the scene, Eric felt no joy, because he had crossed James. His chance for promotion now seemed ruined. The next morning, on the way back, a firefighter picked up a stone, wanting to bring it home for his son, but a tree suddenly fell right toward him. Luckily Brendan pulled him away just in time, saving his life by a hair's breadth. However, when boarding the plane, Brendan was stopped. His helmet strap was missing. With no other choice, he used duct tape as a replacement. Brendan looked ridiculously goofy. The whole crew burst into laughter. Then Mike called him over and pulled out the hidden helmet strap. This meant Brendan was now officially one of them. After returning, Eric paced back and forth in the office. He was eager to know the evaluation result. At that moment, a friend called to check in. Eric felt like he had let his friend down, so he quickly hung up the call. In a fit of anger, he slammed the chair to the ground. He blamed himself for letting his emotions ruin this chance, until his friend walked into the office. When Eric stepped out, he dumped a box of fire masks on the floor. Drill. It's a real drill. Come on, hurry up. At the signal, everyone quickly opened their mask packages. In no time, they were all ready. And in fact, this was Eric's surprise gift. Congratulations, everyone. You've become hotshot. James didn't let Eric's outburst take away their opportunity. On the contrary, he said they were the best team he'd ever seen. And so, they finally became hotshots, just as they'd dreamed. Eric even gave the team a new name. Granite Mountain Hotshot. That name, that's a good name. Brendan kept quietly leaving things at the door as usual, but just as he was about to leave, his girlfriend opened the door and called him back. She brought the baby outside. Looking at the child, Brendan smiled unconsciously. Do you want to hold her? I'm filthy. I don't want to get her clothes dirty. It's okay, really. It's okay. In that moment, Brendan felt all his past effort were completely worth it. She's so beautiful. Yeah, she really looks like you. And his girlfriend noticed his transformation too. To celebrate their promotion to hotshot, the team and their families threw a party. This rare downtime helped them forget their stress for a while. But while everyone was enjoying themselves, over at the uniform shed, Brendan found Mike sitting alone drinking. Turns out his girlfriend had cheated on him. Now he had no home to return to. Hearing this, Brendan generously invited him to move in. Really? A few months later, Brendan finally got a day to take care of his daughter. To welcome the little girl to their home, Mike wrapped all the sharp furniture edges with foam. This is awesome. Thanks, man. But by evening, the baby suddenly developed a high fever. After checking, they saw her temperature hit 39 degrees Celsius. The two men totally panicked. Not knowing what to do, Mike suddenly remembered Chris's wife is a nurse. Thanks to her help, the baby was stabilized. At the same time, wildfire season was approaching. Eric's wife wanted to have a child with him so that she wouldn't be so alone at home, but Eric didn't want to discuss it, even though they had agreed not to have kids before marriage. Over time, she had changed her mind. Wildfires were becoming more frequent. Brendan had barely gotten precious time with his daughter. Then he saw flames on the distant mountain. The whole team had to cut their break short. Their new mission was to protect a 2,000-year-old tree. Seeing the enormous tree before them, the team got to work immediately. Soon, all the surrounding grass was cleared. Then they dug a firebreak trench and set a backfire to stop the blaze. Now all they had to do was wait. Soon, the two fires met. With nothing left to burn, the flames were quickly extinguished. And so, the ancient tree was successfully protected. To commemorate the moment, the whole team took a photo under the tree, and that would be their final group photo. On the way back, Brendan was bitten by a venomous snake. When he was taken to the hospital, Brendan was in severe pain, but he still refused the morphine injection because if he relapsed, he might never come back from it. It's going to hurt a lot without it. You sure? Yes, I'm sure. Eric saw this and nodded with approval. Mike stayed up all night at the hospital with him, but his snoring was seriously unbearable. While they were goofing around, Brendan's attending nurse came by. Just one look, and Mike believed it was true love. Later, Brendan's girlfriend and mother also visited. His mother brought a newspaper. She was proud of how much her son had changed, but she still hoped Brendan would find a more stable job. Your daughter needs you. After being discharged, Brendan went to the bar that once kicked him out. The town had thrown a party for them. Brendan invited Eric outside. First, he thanked him for all his help. Then he got to the real reason. He hoped Eric could recommend him for a job in the city fire department, but Eric rejected the request. If you leave the crew, you'll either end up dead or back in jail. Eric's wife saw the whole thing. On the way home, she asked why he was so angry, even called out exactly what he was thinking. You owe this job more than you owe your own daughter. After that, the two started yelling at each other. They ended up arguing again without resolution. Eric went to his best friend's house to vent. With his friend's advice, he finally understood. His life wasn't just about work. There was someone who truly loved him. Seeing the tears in his wife's eyes, he decided to listen to her from now on. The next morning, Eric received a call. Another wildfire had broken out nearby. On the way, he said this would be his last year leading the team. After that, he would step back. At the command center, after receiving their assignment, he led the team to the scene. Upon arrival at the location, the team started digging a firebreak. Eric pulled Brendan aside and apologized for last night. As his wife said, he was really angry at his past self. Then they lit the control fire line, thinking everything would go smoothly. Unexpectedly, a firefighting plane flew overhead and dumped water that put out their fire line. Seeing that, Eric quickly called to report the mistake, but it was too too late. Eric had no choice but to abandon the area and move the firebreak higher up. As Brendan hadn't fully recovered, he was assigned to observe from the other side, but that farewell was a final goodbye. At the observation point, Brendan began checking wind direction and weather. Everything seemed stable at first. He immediately reported back to Eric, but the weather in that area changed unpredictably. Brendan sat down to rest briefly, then the wind suddenly shifted direction. The fire began to rage toward him. Soon, Brendan was trapped in thick smoke. His escape route was also blocked. Luckily, a rescue vehicle arrived in time and took Brendan out of the danger zone. He was quickly brought to safety, but Eric and the team weren't as lucky. According to plan, Eric intended to follow the escape route to check the farm area below. At first, everything seemed normal. Then suddenly, a strong wind blew in. The flames quickly surrounded them. Realizing the seriousness, he immediately turned back to gather the team and ordered them to set up a fire shelter. At that moment, flames were rushing toward them. Eric made one last desperate attempt. He used the radio to call for aerial support, but no matter how much he called from the ground, there was no response from the plane, and just like that, they completely lost hope of survival. Looking at his teammate, Eric tried one more time. He reported the situation to headquarters. Granite Mountain requesting air support. Granite Mountain, this is air support unit. This is the Granite Mountain hotshot. Our escape route has been cut off. We're deploying our fire shelters now. The fire has crossed the brush line and is surrounding us. Once we finish setting up the shields, we'll contact you again. But those words sounded like a final farewell. The raging flames had reached them. Eric gave the final command: deploy fire shelters. Everyone immediately dropped their tools and took out the long-unused fire shelters. Under Chris's command, they followed their training step by step, facing the fire with their feet, and placed the rookies in the middle to give them a better chance at survival. And just like that, everyone was covered in their fire shelters. Now all they could do was silently pray for the fire to pass quickly. Soon, the raging fire engulfed everything. Meanwhile, Brendan was anxiously waiting for news from his teammate, but through the radio came only repeated calls from headquarters. He didn't know how much time had passed, but the fire was finally extinguished. Rescuers found them on the mountainside, but they had not survived the fire. Out of the 20 Granite Mountain hotshot, 19 perished in the flame. The only survivor was Brendan, who now suffered the most. 19 confirmed dead. Message received. Continue operations and secure the area. Further instructions will follow. At this moment, Eric's wife was devastated. Families of the firefighters gathered at the gymnasium. Each prayed the survivor was their loved one. Late at night, Brendan walked into the gym, weighed down by grief. When he appeared before the crowd, the truth could no longer be hidden. Brendan didn't say a single word. After completing his duty, he quietly turned and walked away. At that moment, he wished he had died in the fire too. Eric's wife called out to him from behind. It should have been me who died. He was so much better than me. Don't say that. You must not think that way. We cannot fall apart. Do you understand? I'm so glad you're alive, Brendan. Eric would be glad too. The movie Only the Brave ends here.